What's up, buddy?
What's going on, buddy? Hey, brah.
Brah.
Should we just do a podcast like that, or we just brah?
Totally, bro. Like, this is our new podcast, bro.
There's going to be a lot of that, I think.
I think it's going to be like a lot of just joking and
I think joking, having fun, maybe learning something here and there. I don't know, but why do we need to learn things? I don't know. We're good. Let's just talk about it.
Yeah, so Rad Country. This is this was hard to come up with.
It was I was gonna try and make a joke, but I couldn't. I failed. It was super difficult. I run a mobile detailing business called Rad Wash, and you are a super famous country singer that goes by the name of Nick Rucker Country.
Wow. That sounds a lot cooler than it really is.
So if those two things get together and they have a baby, and it's called Rad Country.
Yes, and here we are.
Yep.
This took forever for us to get together and outside of work and outside of our busy lives as it is. You have a family. I have a family, a kid on the way, and music, and it's
day
just
jobs,
like,
side hustles.
Yeah,
we're busy.
We are.
And we just added this.
Yeah.
We're a couple of idiots.
Yep, we are dumb.
So if you like dumb, come back for more, because you're going to get a lot of dumb.
Yeah.
A lot of dumb fun.
So what are we doing? Because...
Well, you said it before. We're getting together. We're having a conversation. Yeah. We're going to let Omaha know just who TF we are.
Yes.
I know. We're having a podcast. We're gonna have a big podcast in Omaha. We're gonna have a lot of big discussions with a lot of different people, big, small, in the middle. I don't care. I just want to talk to interesting people.
Yep.
I think we each have our own interesting stories, kind of backstories that led us to this point. So we get to share that stuff.
I think that's what's kind of sweet is that we both have totally different things going on, right?
Yep.
And you've lived here your whole life. Mm-hmm. I've lived here for 5 years. I don't know everything there is to know about Omaha. And it's like you're going to bring a different element to this than what I'm going to bring. I'm going to bring the music side, the artist, I guess, side. Because there's some cool people that I've already talked to, signed up to get on the podcast, and some big musicians and some other guys that I've worked with on the music side I'm just excited to have them on here just so I can, ask them a bunch of questions that I've been dying to ask too. Mm-hmm. And with you, it's like, hey, you're going to bring a whole different element, just a business side of stuff. Because before even you did Rad Wash, you were JM coaching, right?
Yeah.
You coach small businesses.
Yep.
And it seems like there's a lot of small businesses in Omaha.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's a lot of coaching, and
there's a lot of coaches also.
Yeah.
So, not that I'm afraid to compete. I love competing. However, it was kind of got to the point where it was here, hold my beer. I'm going to go kind of do what you're doing, you know, providing a service and a product to the community, the same people that you serve, Yeah. I'm just going to do it in a different way, help people out. And learn what that struggle is, on the day-to-day struggle part of it. Right. And then I can come back to you or someone and talk to them and say, hey, kind of doing this together, let me help you through, or let me prove to you, why I know then, the coaching side of it, right?
Right.
So,
that's some stuff, valuable information, because I feel like we both know a lot of small business owners, and it's the small things, I think, that lead up to the bigger picture. Yep. I mean, we've talked about before, it's you've got with the music stuff with me, you think of naming lights for me, and in a huge tour that's 100 days out of a 365-day year or whatever, and you don't take into consideration that there's a bunch of stairs leading up to that big stairway to heaven.
Yep.
But
the thing is, if you can't see the top, if you don't even have that part, then you have zero clue where you're going, right?
Right.
So you have to have that part.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating for people just grinding it, day in and day out, like they have to have a vision
right
at what's at the top.
Right.
So, but yeah, sorry, I cut you off.
No, you're good. And definitely, I think even with like your, with Rad Wash and like with Nick Rucker Country, it's just like it's easy to get bummed out from time to time because you're like basically like sitting there and you're like, oh my gosh, I had a bad show, or maybe like somebody wasn't happy with something.
Yes.
And you're like, this is devastating. Like in a certain moment, it is, and it's finding kind of that integrity and ability to push through those and keep focused on the big picture. But it's like, I've got to tackle today. Like that is what is on the agenda is today. That will always be there. And I think that's even, maybe even for you, it's like, you're doing a detail or two on a weekend, or 3 or 4, and you're just like, in the moment, you're like, man, all that marketing, all of that, that went in to get that person to say, hey, I trust you with my car. Will you come to my house and do it?
Right.
And then you show up and you're doing it. That's when it's like the mundane.
Yeah.
The monotony kind of starts, and you're like, that's when you start thinking, like, is this worth it? And you're like,
right.
Yeah, it really is.
The function of washing a car is mundane. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I got to dip a mitt in a bucket, and I still got to wipe down the car the same way every single time. But it's the fact that like Rad Wash went from an idea in my head to searching for a van to like, getting a business card and putting together a website, like you're saying, just like all that marketing, you turn this vision into something that's real.
Yeah.
So now that mundane thing means a hell of a lot more.
Definitely.
So it's the same thing with country music, or singing in general, right? I mean, you're creating something from nothing.
Right.
Like the shit didn't exist on the piece of paper before you put it there, and then you made it like come together.
Well, and it's crazy because I'm sure you even remember, there was a fire from somewhere that said, hey, I like detailing cars, and this is the direction that I want to go. And there was a part of me that was like, oh man, I love music, and I still on one of my guitars have a set list from like one of my first shows with 10 songs. That's all I knew, and now it's like 60 to 70 songs that I know, but it's like I look back at that and I'm like, okay, I've come a long way, from where I was, and to not lose track of, hey, we're taking those steps. It's just like the monotony, the playing shows after show after show. It's just like it's building up to something that's like making me, making myself, or even in your case, you more prepared for a big job, like the big job and how it's going to be. So one of these days, it is what it is. I think everybody goes through it.
Yeah.
We are around a lot of people that are bigger, and they started as somebody very low, small scale.
Right.
And
everybody started with the grind the day. I mean, it's always a grind, right? It doesn't matter like what level you make it to. You're always going to be grinding it. It's just your grind's going to be different. Yeah. So, I mean, when your name is in lights and you're playing, somewhere like the Ryman Auditorium, your grind is, you're still going to be grinding it out. It's just, it's going to be a lot different. Yeah. With all those years leading up to that and all that struggle and all that sweat and tears and the suck, like I don't know. I listen to a lot of different podcasts. I'm not going to drop some of the ones because that feels cliche, but they talk about bombing quite a bit. Yeah. Just every single one of those bombs is like leading up to like that big moment. Yeah. Which is cool.
Well, it makes you better. Yeah. Like it's like, I don't want to ever go through that again. So this is what I need to change right now in order to not do that again. I think even this past weekend, I played a show and I just felt like I wasn't there. I felt like I was playing, but it wasn't. And that was just like with, I feel like that whole, it becoming a day-to-day operation, you just kind of like, and like I have a history of working in a factory, like whenever I was like right out of high school, and it's like, part goes here, and this screws this hole, and you're just like, oh my gosh. And it becomes like that. It really does. But it's the other shows that's like everybody's just like throwing out, requests, and you're just ripping them out, and you're like, dude, that was a solid night. Like, I wish I had that every night. And it's just not, that's not how it's always going to be.
That's all right.
But it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we haven't really given anybody, like, so we have, I'm going to call them 2 sponsors of the podcast. I have my computer pulled up because I have our websites pulled up like an idiot.
Yeah.
So you have nickruckercountry.com.
Yep.
So people can like go there, see your website's legit. They can see your schedule.
Yep.
That's what I'm looking at. They can see where you've been. And also, some videos.
Videos. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh,
look how you're like in a shower.
With my clothes
With your clothes on.
Oh my gosh. I don't know.
I'm not going to say anymore, but
Yeah.
I mean, go check them out. This is awesome.
Yep.
Radwash.com.
Get your car detailed by this guy because like I did, and it was just like, oh my gosh, this was better than whenever I drove it out of the dealership. Like just pristine.
It's funny, like I go to dealerships and I look at their level of detail.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of work to be done yet still.
Dude, I used to work at a car dealership, like detailing cars many, many moons ago.
Yeah.
And I remember the kind of effort that I put into it. Not good.
Right. So suffice it to say, reach out. You can go schedule your detail right there on radwash.com. Anyway, at the bottom I see Rad merch. So I do have merch. We should have some merch for this. At some point.
I think that's gonna like these.
It'll come.
These shirts are gonna be popular.
I mean,
like I want one.
I'm
some next level T-shirts, super comfy.
Yep.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Maybe you'll see them at some point here
in the next week or so.
Yeah. Oh, we should probably talk about that. What's our schedule here? What can people expect?
I believe, and what we agreed on was weekly.
Yes.
Yes, and given both of our schedules and making sure that we can both do that. So this will be a weekly podcast. It's not always going to be guests on here, but some of these people that we're going to have as guests, I know a few that I want to have on here, and hopefully I can make that happen if I pull some strings. But having some Zoom calls into with people that are, of course, not in the area, that's going to be probably pretty popular.
So we're looking for musicians. We're not looking for, but we're looking forward to. You are looking forward to musicians, business owners, just fun people all around.
Yep, writers.
Yep. And then, of course, you and me.
Yep.
Going forward.
You guys are going to get a lot of us.
Yeah.
So.
Hope you like it.
Yeah. And I do have to say, like, Rad, the first time I saw your Rad Wash logo, I was like, Rad? Where do I know that from? It is from an old movie. Well, you didn't take it from that because you haven't even seen it, right?
I haven't even seen it.
So it's an old movie. Rad is what it's called, from 1980s. It's a BMX racing movie. And I remember watching that, plus Gleaming the Cube at the time, because that movie was super popular. Movie. And I bought a skateboard because of that, which I don't know why, but so that movie, and hopefully somebody, and a shout out to Carrie Hayes, I'd like to get you on this podcast. He is the writer of such movies as the Conjuring series. He is a writer of House of Wax, that movie where they kill off Paris Hilton. And
good work, Carrie.
Yes. And then San Andreas with The Rock in it. So
nice.
That was a big one. But he's got multiple other movies. He's somebody that I want to have on here, and I think we can make that happen.
Carrie, let's go.
Yep. And he could answer a lot of cool questions. I think the first time I talked to him, I was like, fangirling.
That's awesome.
Because I was like, what's up, man?
I am a movie buff. That would be amazing. So if I can pick my jaw off the table whenever he shows up. Then...
Yeah, he everything, all those movies started in his brain, and
that's amazing.
Him and his twin brother.
Yeah, it's something from nothing.
So going back to what I meant by Rad, the movie Rad,
yes.
He was in it in the 80s with his twin brother, and if you've seen the movie, you know who the twin brothers are in the movie, but that's who we'll have on here.
So every time I say Rad Wash, you think about Ray,
Rad.
His brother, and the movie.
Yep.
That they're in.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, Rad Wash, it's a 90s themed.
Saved by the Bell.
Detailing business. But yeah, I realized, shortly after that maybe I was dipping back into the 80s just a little bit. That's okay though.
Yeah.
Right? like early 90s was indistinguishable from the 80s.
Yeah.
So I'm rolling with that answer for now.
Yeah, a little bit of the 80s bled into the early 90s. Yeah. Yep.
Anyway.
So
we have some interesting shit about ourselves too. You are military.
Yeah.
Recovering alcoholic. Is that what we're supposed to say?
Yeah. Was an alcoholic, no
you're
longer.
Sober now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
you're healthy, obviously.
And yep. So military, 12 years. Have a new book coming out later this year that I wrote over my 10-year span of 2 deployments and 10 years in the military. So I think that with this book, this is kind of a plug for that book, but there's going to be some book signings and stuff like that set up, but there's always these preconceived ideas that are like, oh, it's a war book, it's going to be all bloody, and that's not the life I lived in the military. There was a lot of not much going on. And that's 90% of your time in the military. Anybody that's watching this has been in the military knows. But what I'm talking about is like, hey, today, this or this happened, and this is how I basically worked through it, or this is some of the stuff that was going on in my head on the deployment. It's those, and actually we talked about this earlier. Sebastian Junger wrote a book called Restrepo. It was about a outpost in Afghanistan. And he talked about how a very small percentage of the military was actually ever saw combat action. And that's kind of like, it's complete opposite of that book, but I was one of the percentages that wasn't getting shot at every single day and like not shooting back.
What did you say those percents were? You told me this, and it was staggeringly, if that's a word, low.
Yes.
At least in my mind, I was caught off guard by that.
Yeah. So 1% of the American population is in the military, and even a smaller percentage of that 1%, so like 8 to 12%, I believe, has seen actual combat. So most of the books and everything else that you've read are those small percentages of guys that have actually gone out and fought an enemy that we were fighting, while a lot of us kind of sat back and got shot out with mortars and everything else while we were overseas. So I talk about a lot about that in the book, and the stuff recovering from alcohol and life after a deployment. And it's going to be a good one. I think it'll appeal to a lot of people, and then there'll be some that just don't get it. So it was kind of my way of doing an Ernest Hemingway nowadays kind of version.
So at some point, we'll have to bring you on the podcast. Nick Rucker, author.
Yes.
And then you can bring me a copy of the book, and we'll promote it.
Yeah.
Is there like...
And I'll wear glasses, and I'll have to wear a sweater.
You heard it here first, folks.
And a tie.
Do you have a title, a release date?
I don't have a release date yet. It's called Time Cap, but it's going to be later this year. So before the end of the year.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, so am I.
We'll have several of these before then, so we'll
talk
shout it out as we go.
Yeah. What about you, man?
What about me?
What's your story, bro?
What's your story,
brah?
Brah. So, the story goes all kinds of different ways. I grew up here in Omaha, not so great part of town. There's a lot there in and of itself. I'm sure we can visit that at some point.
Wrong side of the tracks, huh, kid?
Wrong side of the tracks.
Oh, gosh.
But anyway, wrong side of the track. So at 17, had my son, who is 18 now, super good kid. I know that everybody says that about their kids, sometimes anyway.
Yeah.
I'll call it like it is. He's not always good, but I love him. I love him all the same. No, he's really good. Anyway, had a kid at 17, had to grow up really, really fast at that point. So it was what every other 17-year-old would do. I just tried looking for work, did that, kind of bounced around here and there, landed at a really good company that pushed me to grow, things like that. And in that experience, let me back up a little bit, went to college, landed at this company. They pushed me to grow, did some really great things there. went through some stuff and decided, hey, I'm going to go out on my own. So I started JM Coaching, which is the coaching business that we talked about a little bit earlier. And then through that experience, like I said, decided to start Rad Wash as like I'm going to put this thing on hold for a second. I'm going to go struggle, kind of go through the grit and the grime, so that I can come back, at some point maybe a little bit stronger, or put that to bed altogether and just have this new experience where I can do that shit here and talk about it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I really need to charge people to learn how to be better versions of themselves.
Yeah.
It's like, let's just all figure that out together, and nobody has the right answer. Right. I don't think.
I think that's what this platform is going to be great for, is just like, hey, we're here to like we've had come from like rough experiences at some point, whether that was, done to ourselves or not, a victim of circumstance or whatever it is, and kind of come back from that. And it's like, hey, we're just here to like bring the good out in people and help you see that. So I think that's if that's at the end of every podcast, if that's what we can come, back to,
right, we've
done something right. I feel like
I want to do something good with my high ACE score. I learned about this ACE. Hang on, let me see if I can pull it up quick enough.
All right.
So ACE score is basically something that happens as you're developing. So adverse childhood experiences, that's what it's called. So basically, the more adverse your childhood was, the higher your ACE score is, essentially. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm dumb, so that's my interpretation of what ACE scores is. I know it's fairly close.
Yeah.
The definition. Anyway, so what I'm saying is that I've taken this test before, and I have a kind of a high ACE score, but also resiliency is also high, which basically allowed me to like get out.
Yeah.
Some people don't have a high resiliency score, and that's people generally in that scenario, high ACE, low resiliency, tend to struggle a little bit more.
I think that's kind of the blaming problems on everybody else, kind of.
I'm sure some of that plays in there, but I think also kind of like you were talking about, like victim of circumstance. Like, it's not that they don't have the ability to have higher resiliency. It's just that their support system, for intent and purposes, sucks. Yeah, it's just not there. So
yeah. I think that's crazy too, because I think about that, and it's just like, I think your situation, if you hadn't found what it is you found to, better yourself, or somebody that you confided in that was like, hey, dude, your situation sucks, but it can get better, and this is how you got to do it.
Yep.
If you don't have that, and you just kind of sitting there, and you're just like around a bunch of the negative, and it's like, dude, like I don't know what to do, like, and you never experience that where somebody's like takes your hand and they're like, come with me.
Right.
I think that's definitely what you're talking about in there. It's like where it's easy to fall into that. Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm glad that.
We'll use it for some good.
Yes.
That wasn't a pity party.
No.
We can. You want to cry for me? Anyway.
Anyway. So that's what this podcast is going to be about. I did want to put a plug in real quick for a podcast that is promoting my music and reaching out to me through the veteran community for sobriety and stuff like that, which is the Coach and the Vet podcast. It's on Facebook as that, on Spotify, all the platforms. Plug it in, check it out. It's my old Sergeant Major from active duty, and he's the one that I talk about him in the book, that told me, hey, you're going to Iraq in a month. And I was like, oh boy, I don't know about Iraq. And then we went to Iraq, and then changed my life forever. So he's a great man, and has done a lot of good things, and now we're still kind of working together, so that's good. I wanted to put a plug in for that. So if you get a chance, it is the Coach and the Vet on Facebook, and Spotify, Instagram, all on YouTube. So check them out. Listen to some of the stuff they talk about. So
awesome.
But that's, I think, honestly, like, this is going to be a good thing. I'm excited about it.
Super stoked.
Yeah. I've got this in my head. I've got like all these guests that I want to come on and just like get them out there. So you people, what do you mean, you people? Not you.
The people on the other side of the lens right now.
Can come on And you can hear the stories from like some of the people that I grew up like idolizing, posters on my wall and stuff like that. You can hear, oh my gosh, I never, this is awesome that you get to hear it firsthand. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yes. I'm so glad we got the maiden voyage.
Yes.
Like you said, this has been months in the works.
And now we've got the initial started. And a shout out to Nick Bowlby too, right?
Yes.
Body Bags Bowlby. Because he slays any work that you ever put in front of him. He just slays it. And so Nick is the guy, whenever you watch this for the first time, he put the music in the background. He put our logo on there and made it. I don't know what he's going to do exactly yet. It might spin in. I don't know. Whatever's happening. But he did all of that work. I think he does a lot of awesome stuff. And so we're excited to have him on board with this as well.
He's got some pretty sweet creds too.
Yeah.
Like he was in Hollywood for a while.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
he's a pretty solid dude.
Yeah, we work with a lot of like solid film guys basically, and we're lucky that they aren't put off by us.
They'll schlep down here with us for a bit while we try and get a podcast off the ground.
Excuse me, sir.
Nice. All right.
Yeah, so that's looking forward to this, and we'll have this out, and this is the first week, and hopefully the next week we'll have another one out.
Yep.
Highlight some cool stuff.
Keep coming back. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, and I think one of the big things too is if you have questions for us, stuff you want us to talk about or highlight questions for us, put them in the comments, and that way that we can, pull them up here. We'll answer whatever questions you have, and that'll be, anything you want to talk about too. It's kind of your platform, the same as ours as well. So we can talk about whatever.
So if you're any of those things, interesting, a musician, an author, who else do we say? Business owner. Shoot us a message. If you know somebody that can be on the show or wants to be on the show, or if you want to be on the show, shoot us a message and let us know.
Yeah, especially anybody in Omaha that can actually sit down with us and do the podcast with us. That would be totally awesome. So,
yep.
But all right, guys. Well, we'll see you soon. Tune in next week.
All right.
So,
later.